I am one of the organizers of the Southern Fried Gameroom Expo. Thank you so much for attending our very first Expo here in Atlanta. We're at the Marriott Century Center, and right now we're live on Twin Galaxies. So people across America and all over the world can see us right now. We are very pleased to have such a great turnout this year, a great host of games, and of course a great variety of special guests. Today we're here to see the Arcade Legends panel, and on that panel we have some great luminaries of the competitive gaming world, including the following. So let me go ahead and bring them down, and what we're going to do is we're going to have just a moderated panel Q&A, and then afterwards we'll open up to questions on the floor and also questions on Twin Galaxies Live. Later, when I direct you to, if you would, please use the microphone on the right of the room. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, some of our arcade legends. First up, George Leutz is the world champion on Qbert and paid 72 hours straight to achieve that record. Ladies and gentlemen, George Leutz. 85 hours. He corrected me. I'm so sorry. So, yeah, I'm not going to neglect you those because those were hard-earned hours, I'm sure. Okay, next up we have world record holder of the classic arcade game and beloved movie hit Tron, Mr. David Cruz. Come on down, David. Making the drive up. All right, and right now we are delayed from having a few of our panelists. They had flight problems and stuff, but our last panelist right now is none other than the king of arcades himself, world record holder on Space Invaders and a number of other games. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Richie Knucklez. And they're still back in the room.
Thank you so much.
All right, hey, David, we're going to go ahead and move you over.
I have on my cell phone for the last while, was texting me, Joel West, so hopefully, I've never seen one of these before. Hopefully they'll be here soon. I know Joel may be showing up late and rolling in any minute.
Yeah, I expect Joel to just come running here sweating. All right, guys, talk in the microphones if you can. Bring them a little closer to you, right, so everybody can hear us. Awesome. I appreciate it. Everybody coming out. So you are considered arcade legends, and I think George here is probably speaks to that the most because you had to work for 85 hours. I think a lot of people here in the audience and online want to know, what is it that drives you to want to devote so much time? Because not only is that playing time, that's practice time again and again and again. How do you have the fortitude to withstand 85 hours and, you know, unlimited practice times for your games? Just go down the line.
Go ahead. I was going to say what it really was I wanted to impress my friends. I wanted to impress Richie, and I'm friends with Hank Chen, the Donkey Kong champ, those guys, and I was like, I better do something. You know, Richie's got Space Invaders. Hank has Donkey Kong. You know, I'm like, I better do something too. So I had to go for it.
What was it for you, David?
And for me, I always loved Tron when I was growing up. Back when I first started playing it, it was that I picked it up real quick. And then when I got back into it again, and I found out about Twin Galaxies, I just knew I had to get the record, and I wasn't going to let anybody take it from me. So that just drove me to get better and better at it, and get it to where I knew I could just play it as long as I needed to.
That's how fierce he is I did a Tron competition, and I made the mistake of bringing in 3 Trons, and one of them was mine, and Donald Hayes quickly scooped that one up, and the other 2 were borrowed ones, and poor David had to play on a subpar Tron to the one that I provided Donald Hayes with, and Donald Hayes wound up winning the Tron off. And how many days did it take you to go home and take it back?
It took me exactly a week to take it back.
That's competition. He was so angry with me. He's like, this game is subpar.
I wasn't going to sleep or eat or do anything until I had it back.
Now, Richie, you actually have several records. Do you guys have multiple records, or you're just Qbert?
I've got a perfect record.
Oh, wow.
The irony of all this is I have been, if Joel was here, I was there when George did the 85 hours on Qbert. I was there when he did the, how many hours at my arcade on Tron?
23 hours.
23 hours on Tron.
4 live only.
I was also in Denver for your Perfect Pac-Man. And if Joel was here, his Frenzy Marathon, I was there for that too. So I was actually witness to every single every world record that was going to be up here on the panel, which is quite odd. But yes, I have quite a few world records. I like to talk about other people more than myself.
Okay, give us maybe your top 3 that you're most proud of.
Even though it's not a world record, what I'm most proud of is pole position. I must have played. If anyone doesn't know, I own an arcade, and if I'm getting world record scores, that means business is really bad. Because I'll just sit there and play the games over and over again. One time I was playing pole position, I was like playing a perfect game. I was really, really excited, and someone came in the door to buy something. I remember being like, "What are you doing here now?" And wait a minute, hold on, wait, this is the business. You're supposed to be here to buy games. So the pole position score is probably my favorite because I broke 67,000, and that is like unbelievable. And I must have played 1,000 games easily. But Space Invaders and Phoenix, probably my other ones that I've played.
That Space Invaders game is a 6-hour game too. That's not
yes,
like
yeah. Space Invaders was 6 hours straight.
I saw you. I saw the live stream of you doing that. And just man, that takes some concentration for sure.
Yeah, that was tough.
So here we are talking about records on games that came out in 1979, 1980, and all down the line. And here we are in 2014. What is it about those games? Did you have a special connection with them in your youth? Talk to me about the early days when you remember from the glory days of the arcade. What was it like for you growing up?
You know, I was like around 10, between 8 and 15 years old, I guess, in the 80s. And so I was a little kid, and I would play Qbert and get to like the second or third board and be really impressed. I played for like 10 years or something. And I really stopped playing games after that in my late teens and 20s and 20 games. And I started again maybe about 5 years ago. And I just really took off. I was never this good at the games when I came back.
David, what about you?
I mean, I just enjoyed playing them when I was growing up. I mean, any new game that came out, I'd have to try it. If I liked it, then I would play it for a while and usually get good at it. Because George is great at Qbert, no doubt about that. But I played over 24 hours in that game and just walked away from it and really never touched it again. He was good at jousting. Like, there was so many games that I really enjoyed playing. And you just get drawn into it because the games themselves, that's what brings you into it. Because they're really fun to play, challenging. Not like some of the games we have today where you play them and then you're done, and then what?
Richie, for you.
When I was probably numerous times, so if you get to see I was big in bowling at like 12 years old, and we did a bowling league, and we were in first place for our bowling league, and I think my average was pretty high for a young kid. I was like close to 200, and I probably was 11 or 12, and I remember, I can picture it like it was yesterday. In the bowling alley, they pulled in a Space Invaders machine, they uncrated it right in front of us, and we're all watching, and then they wheeled in a Monaco GP and uncrated that. And I can remember bowling, looking behind me, what are those machines? And it was the first time I had ever even seen what an arcade game was. And what's funny about that is I have the max score on Monaco GP, which is 9999, and I have Space Invaders, and those are the 2 first games I ever saw. And, it's safe to say that my bowling because I was my dad was pissed too, because I was always like too busy, like, can I have a quarter, I throw a gutter, can I have a quarter to run over and play Monaco GD? So it's like, come on, focus. That's one of my comments.
David, just a minute ago, you mentioned you played 24 hours on Qbert and then just kind of walked away from the game. My question, and I'm just a casual player in the arcade. I have games in my basement, and I like to play them. I'm not very good at that, and I totally recognize it. But I wonder, like you said, after 24 hours, are there games that you are known for or have played competitively that you were just absolutely sick of? I mean, you guys that have these different titles, I would never play Qbert again if I were you.
Me too.
But he has to.
So is it a burden now being known for these records? You have to keep on playing these games or keep on fighting for them, and yet you're just like, man, if I could just play something else, that would be great.
You know, I would only play to fight, to compete. Now I don't play Cubert for fun.
What have you got? Donkey Kong, that happened to me. I'm a pretty good Donkey Kong player. Not like the real guys are, but once it became tedious of jumping on the Donkey Kong's foot and point pressing, it wasn't fun anymore. It lost all its fun. So that's a game that I don't play with anymore because of the way these guys just put that game to a whole new extreme.
Sick of Tron, David?
No, I'm not sick of Tron. I'm actually being challenged on Tron right now.
Ah.
That there's another competitor that we're going to be doing an event in November. 9 plus 1 men, so 10 men. So we're going to do a marathon, probably at least 36 hours. See who can last the longest, get world record on that.
What's the guy's name, Dave?
John Salter.
Speaking of John Salter just recently played hard tag for a little bit.
He's got the longest marathon record by a half hour.
A little bit longer than George, and that's why I had said George plays. So
I have the Cubert records. I have the book. I have the 5 Lives Cubert record and the marathon. But
not the longest.
Johnny Salter has the longest.
So we're going to go back and forth.
I mean, to be honest, I'm glad that John is playing because that gives me an opportunity to play. So it's not just me playing for fun. I've got something to look forward to, and really, I enjoy that. I enjoy the challenge, and I'm good friends with John. So no matter what happens, we're still going to be friends.
I'm going to ask one more question. I'm going to turn it over to see if we have any online questions on Twin Galaxies. So I know that, Richie, you've been working with doing the Kong off and the Tron off. George, I know that you were name dropped on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and we've got different coverage and different media for these classic games. What do you think it is either about the time that these games are kind of gaining popularity, the arcade culture is evolving, or do you think it's a natural effort, or do you think it's through the hard work and promotion?
I was going to say, yeah, it's because of Richie Knucklez.
Oh my God, you're so kind. Just yesterday, I was driving down the road, and anybody here from the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey? Anybody? You ever hear of New Jersey 101.5? Just yesterday afternoon, driving down the road, and my my phone is blowing up, and it's text messages. They're talking about you on 101.5, 101.5. And whenever they talk about classic games, the guys who, Nowitzki and Doyle, you ever hear that? They were talking about classic game moving, and they brought my name up, so I called in, they put my password right in, so I felt like, oh gosh, that was great. So, yeah, to answer your question, the arcade culture is starting to come back, and as much as you guys might hate me for saying this, but the King of Kong definitely gave me a huge boost. They picked it in the butt. I had never heard of a lot of the people now that I'm really good friends with until the King of Kong came out, and then became good friends. Like, I'm very lucky to have Bill Mitchell and Warren Day to call me at least once a week, if not more, just to see if I'm okay. Because they know what's going on.
Well, in case you don't know, I think we might get a little bit more increase in popularity in arcade culture because Richie's got a movie coming out. I don't know if you're aware of that. We're screening that later tonight, The King of Arcades, and I think maybe once that comes out, you'll have even more interest in pop culture and all this stuff. Whitney, do we have any questions on Twin Galaxies Live? Okay. All right. If anybody wants to start lining up for questions at the microphone, we'd be glad to take those. I'm going to ask you, so, you get a lot of publicity for these things. What for you has been the biggest thrill? Has it been competing in a live venue? Has it been making your name on Jimmy Kimmel Live? Has it been being in a movie? I mean, what for you has been the biggest achievement when it comes to classic gaming?
Definitely the best one for me was the 5 Lives Cubert record, which I did at the Kong Off 2 in Denver. And it was, I played, you only have 5 Cuberts, and I played for 8 hours with 5 Cuberts. I didn't lose my first man until 3 hours into the game. And it was so exciting, though, because I had Don Hayes and John McAllister and Billy Mitchell,
all the greats,
everybody watching, standing over my shoulder. And so that added pressure. It was just so exciting. And everybody looked at me differently after the the marathon's one thing, but the skill score, the top game was really, really impressed with that. So that's when I thought.
David, what about you?
I guess for me it was when I took the record back from Donald Hayes, after he broke it at Richie's.
See, it was a good thing.
I was, it really was. And then I came back a few months later and I did it live. And broke it by over $3 million. That was a 23-hour game then.
Yeah, that was insane.
Sure.
Sorry about that. Thanks, guys. We're learning. For you, Richie, what do you think's been? What are you most proud of?
I'd say the Kong Off 1, the very first Kong Off. I had Steve Wiebe call me and say that he was going to participate, and that was the key element because Billy and I were such good friends that I knew he would be there. There was no problem. But getting Steve Wiebe to come, and it's almost like he and I had never met. It was like he was walking into the Lions Den because he knew that Billy and I were like that, and I could see how he'd be apprehensive. But the second he and Andrew Laidlaw showed up at my place and we met for the first time, we instantly became really good friends. And the first Kong Off was just epic. The way half of New Jersey was there, and such a good time. And I think that was probably my favorite day. Was the Kong Off 1 in New Jersey.
Fantastic. All right, we have a question from the audience. Go ahead and speak in the mic for us.
What's the hardest arcade game you've ever had to play?
I believe the question was, what's the hardest arcade game you've ever had to play? Maybe not your own.
Missile Command's pretty hard.
Defender for me.
I'm going to say Donkey Kong.
Good question.
Another question.
Yeah, I like controversy. So I'm wondering, with world records, how do you guys feel about using, like glitches, or are you more purist? When you set your world record, you want to like complete levels, go through the game.
It's a great question.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely for playing clean and playing live so everybody can watch. And I'm not a fan of glitches and stuff.
I hate glitches. I want the game to be legit, clean. Nobody can say anything about the way I played. They can respect what I did. Not try to say I cheated or I'm taking the easy way out.
The long answer for me, which most of the answers are the long answer. The Phoenix record that I have, I use the 3 birds. I don't know if anybody knows Phoenix, but the 3 birds go up in a certain pattern. If you lose in a second, your score bumps up to 204,000. And I did use that, but it was part of the rules that Twin Galaxies had set. But I do have to admit, there are other ways to exploit Phoenix. There's a suicide trick that you have to know what to do. And this little bird comes up and hooks around and catches you from behind and it gives you 100,000 points. And a lot of people don't know that. And on my Phoenix World record, I had Steve Wagner was with me, Isaiah Triforce Johnson was there, Lance was there. Probably 7 or 8 people were in the arcade, and I had 900,000, and I had 2 guys left. And I'm yelling at them as I'm playing. Do I go for it for real and make it to the end, or do I use the suicide bug to be the first person to ever break $1 million on Phoenix? And everybody's like, just cash it in, cash it in. And I still regret cashing it in. I did. I used the suicide trick, and I got over $1 million, and the game was over. And I still don't really feel that I should have done that. I should have went for it. So, yes.
And you will.
And I feel like I cheated myself. So I agree with these guys. I should be more of a purist, but I did. I'm ashamed.
Oh, and one last question. I was wondering how you guys feel about now. I see a lot of coming up with, especially with Twin Galaxies, is the main stuff. Like, is it a record on a board, or if you're doing main? How do you guys feel about that?
Well, maybe you can use a different controller. You could play on the keyboard. I think it's different than the arcade scores. I would track them separately. I would even track live arcade scores separately than scores that are taped at home. But that's very extreme.
I think MAME is a great platform when you don't have the arcade machines. But to get the record, it has to be on a real machine. Because it doesn't hold the same weight, even though it plays identical.
Yeah, I hear a lot of conversation that it kind of dilutes the value just because, there's so many games that are available when you think about the different platforms and the different versions. But what we grew up with was the physical game. Well, talk a little bit about, live events. Talk about the physical nature of this and competing in a live event. How does that compare to, or how does that increase the appeal of competitive gaming?
me, the live contest is the most purest form. It's when you have to perform and you have to achieve what you can do and show people what you can do in a live form. The Kong Off series that we do is always exciting for that reason, because you have a guy like Hank who's sitting on top of the world with the world's highest score. But if you watch Hank, and I don't know if anyone here has seen him, almost the whole time you see him, he's smoking, he's outside, he's all nervous and jittery. And, you know, he's a plastic surgeon, and his hands are going like this, you know, when he's playing.
Hot competition.
So it's fun. And for me, that is what brought me out. That's what got me into this, was the live competition. Putting on these events. I have more fun being like Walter, being the facilitator than really the player. I have more fun to organizing and getting everybody together. And just sitting back and watching everybody smile and interact with each other. That's what's really makes it worthwhile for me.
What about you guys? For the live competition, how does that compare? What do you think?
I mean, when I'm at home, I can read a game over and over until I get the record or achieve what I want. But when you're at a live event, you only get 1 or 2 chances maybe. Like, there's only a certain amount of time you have, and then the event's over. So there's a lot of pressure on you. There's people there. You got other machines playing. There's a lot that you have to concentrate and focus on and put out of your mind. And then people are watching you, so you notice them. I mean, there's nothing like it. I'd much rather be at a live event.
Yeah, it's like it's definitely a rush. It's an adrenaline rush when you're there and everybody's watching. I remember when Rick Carter broke the billion on the Nibbler. I guess he was the second person to get the billion. And man, when he hit that billion, I guess it was like 45, 50 hours in, and there was the crowd behind him, such a loud scream. Wow! It was the greatest thing, you know?
He was a rock star for that moment.
Part of the rock star. Yeah, it's a thrill. It's a thrill. Do it live. Yeah, you really deliver.
Rick Carter, he is somebody that's very underrated. He's a machine.
Okay, we have another question from the audience.
Yeah, this question is for David. David, I'm so glad you're here, because my favorite game is Tron. And without you being able to show stuff, can you talk a little bit about how you get past those daggum tanks when there's so many in there? Is the strategy to go in the portal and pop around, or what? Can you just give me a little bit of advice? There's like, what, 8 of them, right?
Believe it or not, there's quite a few different ways to handle the tanks. My favorite way is going into the portal, because I can play it pretty much blindfolded. Get there and I just shoot them right away. I don't have to think about what level I'm on, where I'm going. But there's other ways to play it. You can go to other like spots to the left, or manipulate your tanks so that it's a lot easier to play it. But those, you have to know which tanks are coming and be prepared for it. Like, I guess the most important move for the tanks is holding the stick up and getting right below that line, especially when the tank is coming from the right to the left. Because if you miss that line, the tank's going to shoot you, or if you're too low, then you're not going to be able to hit him. So
Right.
you have to hit that spot right away. That's the most important thing.
Is there a Tron here? Do you guys know is there a Tron here?
There's a cocktail.
Maybe you and I should spend a little time together and have a beer.
Absolutely. I'll be on there.
You know, if you don't know the next Tron light cycle pattern, you will lose your life.
Question from the audience.
What's a game that you feel like anybody can beat you at that you are really bad at?
A game that we're good at that somebody can beat us at, or just any game?
She said a game that you're really bad at. What's something that someone can easily beat you at?
Oh, my daughter can beat me in Minecraft and Roblox.
I can't play any of those driving games. I try and try. So any driving game, you could probably beat me in pole position.
So fun. Those are my favorite.
It's not an arcade game, but most people can beat me at like Super Smash Brothers, those fighting games.
Yeah.
I'm a button masher, so I can't play those games the way people that are good at it can.
Thanks. Good question. From the audience.
All right. Hey, guys. Thanks for coming. My question's kind of 2 parts. So the first part is, have you guys ever thought about developing your own games, or has anybody kind of reached out to you and asked for your opinion on a game that they're either working on or it's in progress? And then the second question is, I'll just key it up there now. have any of the developers of the games that you guys are known for ever reached out to you and said, Jesus, I never knew that anybody could play this so well or for so long?
Excellent question. George.
Well, yeah, so
on this.
for the second part, I actually interviewed Warren Davis, the creator of Qbert. I did a 20 questions with him. You can find it online. And that was great. Yeah, and I had a really good time with him, and he was very impressed with me. He's like, it's like God for me, So that was
It's on the YouTube.
life experience. Yeah, Richie was there too. It was the two of us. We interviewed Warren Davis. That was great. What was the first part?
The first one was whether or not you'd ever thought about designing your own game, or whether anybody's reached out to you and asked for your opinion.
Yeah, no, there's one game Richie and I are working on, but it's top secret.
Yeah, we have a concept. In fact, if you go to my computer at home, you'll find all of the building blocks for creating a game in C++.
We're working hard, actually.
It would be fun not only to do the cabinetry, the artwork, the hardware, but to also create a game from scratch, up here. And we have a concept for it would be in the vein of the 80s. It would be an 8-bit game. And together we've been working on this concept, and we're going to finish it. We will. It just takes a lot of time, especially when you have no programming background whatsoever.
You were able to say C++, so that's a good start.
Thank you.
And you didn't say Perl or something like that. So.
A good friend of mine is Eugene Jarvis, the maker of Robotron and Defender, and he owns Raw Thrills, which is every game that's out there now in the modern world that is arcade games is by Raw Thrills. And we explained to him our idea, and he said, if you need somebody to help, I'm on board to help you make this game. So the concept's pretty wild. You'll like it when we do finish it.
So what's your ETA?
I wanted it done for this, actually.
Yeah,
we've been slacking.
Maybe the end of the year.
Yeah. We got our hands in so many different beehives. It's just stressful. But yes, that was a great question. And just recently somebody has done, I don't know if you guys remember the Atari 2600 Adventure. Do you remember that game, Adventure? And that was one of the games that sucked me in as a young kid. And a guy on the internet sent me, it's called Another Adventure. It's a homebrew of Atari 2600. And I got sidetracked, and I downloaded all the tools to make an Atari 2600 game. So I'm working on that too.
He's really good at Adventure. I'd never seen. You think Richie Knucklez? You think, oh, he's a tough guy, Space Invaders. But man, he's
such a nerd.
I've never seen anybody break Adventure the way he has. It's like
on 2 tries, I broke the speed record.
Yeah, absolutely insane.
I love that game.
David, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm actually working on like the Android games for mobile phones.
Wow. Joe West is calling. Joe West called.
And then for the second part, I've actually had interactions with the director of Tron and some of the co-directors and stars from it.
Wow, oh, really?
You mean the movie?
Yes, from the
most recent
movie or
the original one?
From the original movie.
Oh, that's cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks. Great questions.
All right, guys, thanks so much.
Thank you. That was a great question.
Good afternoon, guys.
How's it going?
The trend in arcades these days seems to be going back to redemption and things like that. What do you think it'll take to get back to gaming for the sake of the game?
I don't think you're going to see it.
No?
Only us. You're looking at it. The people in this room, the people at this thing. That's my opinion. It's just, they got to go for the money. The people who are, I own close to 500 stand-up arcade games. And I have this many out on location. That many. So
we're trying to, I feel like it's making it cool again. You got us. We're playing rock and roll with classic references. You got Richie trying to make it cooler. We're trying to, I think that's would make it popular. I mean,
the barcades too are going to help.
Yeah,
they're helping a lot. There's a barcade sprouting up in every city across the United States.
Although I do know when people go to Richie's arcade, kids play. The kids are playing the classic games. If they're there in front of them, the kids come and they see all the bright lights and sounds, and they blows them away just like it blew us away when we were kids. So
I pinch myself every day that I don't have a liquor license and I'm still in business. I don't know how we're doing it. It's just very creative marketing, I guess you would call it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So my question is in somewhat of the same vein as the last question. I was just kind of curious, what do you think that it takes to be economically viable if someone wanted to open their own arcade today and stay in business for the next 5 to 10 years? Does it have to be a barcade? is it some combination, of arcade and not, or can you make a viable go at it with not having a liquor license or anything like that? And I'm just asking for, maybe someone who eventually would want to open their own.
Well, I have no other income other than the sale of the arcade games, the restored arcade games, the open arcade nights that we do on Friday and Saturday nights, and the birthday parties. The difference is we wouldn't have drove up, and what is that? What, we have Prius? We'd be driving a BMW here, but we're driving the cheapest enterprise rent-a-car that we could get, Fortunately, I'm not in it for the money. A lot of people are in it for the money. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for because of the passion for this hobby. And I have a bunch of games at the arcade that are the staples. The staples being Ms. Pac-Man, Centipede. But then I sneak in, I throw in one of those really sneaky games. Like Chicken Shift, a rare game by Bally Sandy. Or Stompin', the original DDR that you actually stomp on bugs. At the Smithsonian, Noam Bushnell was addressing the audience, and he was talking about how no one in the audience probably knows this, but he created the very first Dance Dance Revolution game. It was called Stompin'. And I raised my hand. I said, I have one. And he looks at me and goes, no, you don't. And I said, no, I have one, Nolan. And he's like, Richie, you're talking about something else. And I'm like, no, you stomp on the bugs. And he's like, you do have one. And having that at the arcade to me is really makes it fun for me to see the kids actually run up to it and start smashing the hell out of the dance pad and not, playing DDR. They're actually playing a game that is as old as I am.
So I have a podcast called Gameroom Junkies, and it was...
That's you?
It would be, yeah.
Woo! Can I get your autograph?
Oh, yeah, I'll be signing after the show. Yeah, right. So anyway, it would be a disservice that I didn't ask you. Obviously, you own a lot of games, but do each of you have your own personal game room? And if so, like in your home, if so, what do you have that if you have a huge collection, don't name it all, but what do you think is your best draw? What is your most proud of in your home game room?
Well, I'll start because I have no games. My home game room is the Barcade, which is about 10 minutes walk from my house, and my other game room is Richie Knucklez Arcade, which I'm at every weekend.
Yeah. I've got two arcade game rooms at home, Tron and Pac-Man. I want to get other games, but right now those are the most important ones.
I unfortunately scaled down. I had, at one point, I must have had 75 games in the house. And, I must have done something wrong because my wife is now my ex-wife. And I live in a one-bedroom apartment. So I've taken a huge step back. But I have a Stargate pinball in this small one-bedroom apartment. I have a Ms. Pac-Man cocktail, which is mint condition, which I've restored completely. I have a Chicken Shift cocktail, which you guys saw that. You'd be like, wow, a Chicken Shift cocktail. I have a Monaco GP cocktail. And what else do I have? Oh, and a Donkey Kong cocktail as well. So I have like 5 games in a small one-bedroom apartment.
So shifting topics just a little bit, I don't know if you guys know, but apparently in the competitive gaming world, there's drama. I don't know.
No, not with us.
No?
Not with us, no. We stay away from drama.
Oh, there is.
So, I fall into being a fan of the competitive gaming world, but also the pinball world and things like that. And on the pinball side, it seems a little bit more friendly. What do you think it is about competitive classic arcade games that brings out such drama, such anger and stuff from people on forums?
I blame Billy Mitchell.
It's all his fault. Well, I have to admit, since everything in my life went sort of awry, I've completely separated myself from all that, and I don't even know what the new drama is. I just bailed out. I just couldn't take it anymore. I had enough drama in real life, and something I'm supposed to be enjoying. So right now, I don't have any of it. But yes, 2-3 years ago, I can remember where I got sucked into the drama, and I was probably participating in a few internet wars here and there, but not anymore. That's in my past. No more of that. Right. George is a good influence on me.
What do you think it is, David?
And I think it just shows how important these records are to us, that it means that much, that people want to fight and do whatever they can, even if it means turning against everybody else and making them look bad.
You're fierce.
And you know me already.
I do.
I don't give up.
No, you don't.
So you guys seem pretty laid back and pretty friendly. Obviously, you have some friendly competition, too. I know you spoke earlier about your competition with John Salter. Is there anybody else that you guys feel like just pushes to make you better that isn't, it's not combative, it's just a friendly rivalry?
Yeah, Salter's my competition right now, too. I say he's got a half hour longer of a marathon than me, so in the same way, actually, I like that I'm the underdog again by a half hour, so it pushes me to get a little further. But all my competition definitely has pushed me. I mean, there's Ed Heemskirk is he's down in Florida there, and he's a scary competitor. I really, he was at 65 hours and he hadn't even broke a sweat, and so definitely when I'm playing, I'm thinking he's in the back of my head the whole time. I'm like in desperation thinking I got to beat Heemskirk.
When he was at 84 hours or 83 hours, we knew that Ed Heemskirk had given up. And we told him, we're like, oh my God, Ed Heemskirk is closing in on you. He's closing in on you. You better keep going. So we lied to him. Keep going.
It worked.
And it didn't. We completely lied to him. And after it was over, we're like, oh, you could have gave up 10 hours ago.
I had no idea, man. And then I went to sleep.
So recognizing your personal connection with this, feel free not to answer anything, but also the fact that we're streaming live on Twin Galaxies in a new iteration, what would you like to say about the change that we've seen in Twin Galaxies and the direction moving forward? How do you feel about the transition?
I have great respect and confidence in Jace Hall, so I think he's going to do a wonderful job.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to see what he does with it.
I mean, I like the fact that they're back up and running again, and I like the way the changes that they're coming. Still waiting to see the whole picture, but we know good things are happening, so I'm excited.
Do you have any questions on Twin Galaxies Live right now? Okay. Any other questions from the audience?
All right, this is for all three of you. So each of you has told us about your respective records and all that, but tell us a little bit about yourselves. What are your hobbies? What do you love besides arcade games? And, what do you do other than play?
Well, for me, being a dad is important. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and if anybody sticks around to 8:30 to see the King of Arcades movie, you'll see she's a huge part of the movie. My daughter's 7 years old, and her name is Faith, and she is the most important thing on the planet. I actually have anxiety right now because she's not here with me. Other than that, baseball is really my only other thing. I go to batting cages weekly and just crash.
Sure.
I play guitar. I actually have a guitar with me, and that's really what I do is I play music, and I've been working on a whole bunch of songs that have arcade-related references. So they're still arcade connected with the music, but yeah, music's my main thing. And also, Richie found the Polybius machine a couple months ago, so I've been playing the Polybius.
Has anyone heard the song that George and I did? We covered Walter Day's song, Easier Said Than Done.
Yeah.
Has anyone heard that yet? Yeah, Walter did wrote a song called Easier Said Than Done. He and I went into the studio and re-recorded it. You got to hear it.
We wrote a fantastic bridge.
Yeah, his bridge is fantastic. Genius. What about you, Dave?
Okay,
what
so-
do you do? You run, right?
Yeah, I'm into marathons and triathlons. I'm training for my first Ironman, which I'm planning to do next year. So that takes up most of my time. So like when this competition with John, I'm not going to have much time to train for it. I'll spend maybe a week or two getting ready and then just go for it.
Looks like we have a question coming down.
Got a captive audience here, so I figured I might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah.
This might sound kind of strange, but I'm wondering, when you guys play your games, you made a reference to it earlier about the Tron, for example, being subpar. It didn't, maybe you didn't play as well. Ignoring that, ignoring how the controllers work and how the buttons work and how the spinners work and all that, do you find the artwork or the condition of the control panel or anything has anything to do with how well you play it? Or is that just completely superficial and it could just be painted solid black and it wouldn't make a difference?
Yeah, it wouldn't matter to me. It probably depends on the game, but not.
I go through all that trouble. storing that cuber for you. That's your answer?
That's it.
Ugh.
I mean, when it comes to Tron, at least the artwork that's in front that you can visibly see, that's got to be there, because if not, you're going to notice it. I mean, in the case of that Tron, the monitor was bad, so it was hard to focus on the screen. The controls weren't working right. So like any little thing that throws you off, and having to play for such a long time looking at a bad monitor, there's just no way you're not going to be able to relax and focus on the game.
The time you came back and did the 20-something hours, how was the game?
That was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. There was nothing wrong with it.
I had to definitely step up my game. I felt miserable. He actually stayed at my house that week that this all happened, and we were kicking around breakfast, right? And I was like, Dave, I'm so sorry that it went down. I really thought those other games were You're like, I'm just going to go home and whip things.
And you knew I was going to do it, too.
Yeah, I did. I saw it. The resolve was in your eyes.
Maybe that's why I don't care, because I can't see a thing.
What day are you gonna play the guitar? We're gonna do this on.
Yeah,
what day is that?
tomorrow night we'll be playing.
Where at?
The
VIP party.
The after party, yeah. It should be, 8 to 10 or so.
Yeah. George is a wicked guitar player.
We're gonna have fun.
We did. There's a movie coming out called Man vs. Snake. Have you guys heard of that one? Oh my God, it's going to be fantastic. Andrew Seckler and Tim Kinsey wrote a movie about Tim McVeigh and Nibbler, and we did a song. My band did a song called Man vs. Snake. And my guitar player was having a little bit of problem that week getting into the studio, so I called George, and I said, George, can you come down and lay down a Eddie Van Halen?
And I did.
And he did, and he laid down one hell of a riff. So if you get a chance, look up on knucklesandwich.com. You could download Man vs. Snake, the song, and that's George playing guitar at the end.
See my snake charming skills.
Yeah. Yeah, you did the Egyptian scale, right?
That's right.
So I got a quick follow-up, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
I guess this doesn't apply to George because you said you didn't have any games at home. At least I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
But for the other guys that do, are they pristine, or do they have some scrapes in them? Does that like make you cringe when you look at them, or what condition are they in general?
Okay, well, my Tron is in near perfect condition. There's like just a little bit of wear on the side art, which is really hardly noticeable, but the rest of it is in perfect condition.
But you can see that while you're playing on the side, right?
Of course not.
I'm teasing.
All the games that I have, I try to restore to a back in condition. That's one of my pet peeves. And, like I actually have a pole position that the dash, the plastic, doesn't have a single cigarette burn. I dare anybody here to come up to me and hand me a pole position dashboard that has no cigarette burns. I guarantee you can't find one. And I have one that doesn't have a single cigarette burn on the dashboard.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Sure. Thank you.
Richie's
Questions?
games are beautiful. If you ever get up to Richie's place, you see it's perfection.
Hi, I was just wondering if you guys, when you're learning a new game or when you're trying to perfect your game, do you study it and take notes, or do you just jump in and start playing?
I like to play freestyle. I like to jump in and just learn it as I go along. There's a game called Stalker that I've been playing consistently, and that one, I just wing it every single time you play the game. I don't know if you guys ever played any Bally Sente titles, but Stalker's a great game. Try that one. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I just like to go and play every time. And if I start getting good at it, then I'll get into it. But I don't like to. I just like to have fun.
I mean, for me, when I was learning Pac-Man, I mean, I played the game first on my own. Then I looked up some things just to try to get some tips, and then I further took that and then I made the game my own. I made up my own patterns, made it where I was comfortable playing. So sometimes it's okay getting some help, but in the end, you want it to be your play, not somebody else's that you're doing.
Yeah, Tron is especially hard to me, and I've never been good at jumping in and just getting a high score on a game. So I was especially wondering if David might be the type to study a game before he plays it.
And when it comes to Tron, I really can't explain that one because I think within a week or so I was getting a million points on it. Like I was just naturally good at it.
That's great.
And I play completely different than anybody else. You see how other people use the chair pattern. I've never, ever used the chair pattern.
It's amazing. I do have one more question, if you don't mind. I know a lot of us here have kids, and I think Richie mentioned Minecraft. My son, he loves Minecraft. I was wondering if there are any newer games that give you guys that same feeling that the classic games did, like any games that you see as a little better than the rest or having that special magic.
I'm pretty much stuck in the classics. Recently, though, my daughter wanted me to win her something at the boardwalk, and there was a game by Eugene Jarvis's company called Doodle Jump. And in Doodle Jump, you bounce on these things and you try to get higher. It's sort of like the Steve Smith section of Journey. You bounce on the drums. It's almost exactly like that. And I have to admit, I must have sat there for an hour playing Doodle Jump, trying to win my daughter this stuffed animal that she wanted. So I guess my answer would be Doodle Jump. As terrible as that sounds.
Yeah, I don't mean modern games. I mean, I played Nintendo and Super Nintendo, so I like the Zelda series.
You know what game we're into now? Jordan, I play a lot of. I took apart the spin control and figured out that it's just a potentiometer. And there's a game called the Mega Race that uses a single potentiometer to control the spinner action. And I rigged up it's actually a Phoenix control panel, and I have a spin. And George and I sit there, put the control panel on our lap, and use an arcade spinner instead of a paddle from Atari 2600. And we play Kaboom on like an arcade spinner, and it reacts really well. And we've been playing Kaboom, trying to get the max score.
Yeah, we're at about 5,000 points. So
we're nowhere near.
Yeah, people play that game for like 3 hours.
Kaboom is great. I wish there was a Kaboom here. We'd probably be in there right now.
We would.
We wouldn't be here.
David, for you.
Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of the modern like Nintendo games. I mean, they're a lot of fun to play. But as far as how they compare, I mean, I wouldn't be going for any records on Nintendo, even though I might be really good at them and probably could. Because the only records that really count for me are the arcade games, ones that I grew up with and I really enjoy playing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. So just a few more minutes left. I just have a few questions. So your advice to anybody who wants to go for the world record, whether it takes 5 hours or 85 hours, what do you do to maintain that focus and keep that drive? Do you like psych yourself out beforehand? Do you have a regimen that you go through? What do you do, and what can you recommend to other people who want to try these marathon records?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a big psychological thing that when you're going to do it and you have your date set, and then from now till that point, baby yourself. I would go to work, I would come home, I wouldn't go to the bar, I would just maybe look at the internet for a half hour and go right to sleep. And for a couple of months, it was like charging up your batteries or something like that. So just really it's self-hypnosis or something. You got to really psych yourself into it. But then to get the record, people ask me, I always say, break look at every scoreboard, break every record you find, the mythical scores, the real scores, just, totally dominate the game. Let nobody question that first score. It's not just about getting the score on Twin Galaxies or getting the score on some scoreboard. Get every score, do everything. Get the marathon track, get the skill track, get every difficulty set, and do it.
Do you guys want to hear the backstory to George's Qbert world record? You guys want to hear that? Yeah, it's a pretty good one. I was there from the beginning. We had Rick Carter was our Qbert player, and we were trying to do the most world records in one event set in one day, like an event, and however many world records we can get. And I think we did like 26 world records at my arcade that weekend. And Rick Carter was playing Qbert, and we didn't expect that much of him. And after it was all said and done, 4 days later, Rick Carter's still playing Qbert. And we couldn't believe that he was actually going to break the record. We thought he was, and he came up a little shy, right?
Yeah, he 61 hours.
But out of nowhere, just without even, like a lot of guys are prima donnas and really need a lot of help. They need you to rub their back. You need to get water. You need to heat. with eating packs and stuff like that. But George came out of nowhere and he just said, when Rick Carter's done, I would like a shot. And I said, all right, let's do it. So a few months go by and George comes out and he attempts to go for the Qbert World Record. And does anyone know what I'm about to say? Anybody know the story?
My first attempt.
How many hours were you in?
36 hours.
He was 36 hours in, and my employee unplugged the machine.
That's our friend that we know.
Ed the Human Kill Screen.
Ed the Human Kill Screen, yeah.
Yes. And if it wasn't for that happening, I don't think...
Right, that lit the fire.
It lit the fire. It did. It made you that much
I
stronger.
That's right. And I tried 3 more times that year, and I got a little better each time. And then
every time you got closer and closer until the final one. So this isn't like he just sat down to do it and popped out 85 hours, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, how could he do it?"
This was 3 years of trying and failing.
Trying and failing and trying and failing. And if anyone saw the movie Wreck-It Ralph, there is a scene where they pay homage to my buddy here. There's a scene that Ralph bends down and gives a cherry to Qbert, and Qbert has a sign, and he's holding it up, and it says right on the sign, "Game Unplugged." And I asked them, I seriously went to them and said, "Was that because of us?" And they're like, "Of course."
We are immortalized.
Immortalized in Wreck-It Ralph.
David, what do you do to prepare?
Well, I mean, for somebody that wants to break a record, I mean, the most important thing is really learning the game inside and out. It's not enough just learning other people's patterns, learning how to play the game. You've got to really make it your own and understand everything, be prepared for every scenario that can come up. So once you're mentally prepared, then you have to be physically prepared and just willing to put everything else aside just to go for that record, because it's a real commitment.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead in just a second. I'm going to escort these gentlemen out, and there's a meet and greet and signing area in the vestibule lobby over there. And so they're going to be signing anything you bring. We also have some SFGE postcards that we have. If you didn't bring anything, you want their signatures. And Richie also brought some copies of his DVD and some posters to sign that he'll get you set up with. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And let's give these guys a round of applause.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
If you guys could clear the room for the next panel, please.